May 28, 1940. Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring, Commander-in-Chief of the Luftwaffe, issued an intelligence report laced with faint skepticism. The document summarized President Roosevelt's recent address to Congress, in which he had proclaimed America's intention to expand aircraft production to 50,000 planes a year. Göring told his senior officers, "Let the Americans believe their own propaganda. They know nothing about mass production. Let them try turning their automobile factories into airplane plants. They'll soon learn that building aircraft requires more than assembly lines." What Göring failed to grasp was that in Detroit, a Danish-born immigrant named William Knudsen, former president of General Motors, now working for Roosevelt for $1 a year as chief of industrial mobilization, had already begun proving him wrong. Knudsen would become the architect of the most ambitious industrial transformation in human history. Within 4 years, American factories would not only meet Roosevelt's impossible goal of 50,000 planes annually, but nearly double it, producing close to 100,000 aircraft a year, while simultaneously supplying 2 theaters of war across opposite oceans. The declaration that provoked German disbelief had come on May 16, 1940, as German panzers tore through France. Standing before Congress, Franklin Roosevelt declared, "I should like to see this nation able to produce at least 50,000 planes a year." The reaction was skepticism, even among Anna's allies. In 1939, the United States had produced only 3,611 military aircraft. The entire combat force numbered barely 1,700 planes, most of them obsolete. Yet Roosevelt demanded a 14-fold increase. When presidential advisor Bernard Baruch was asked who could possibly achieve such a miracle, he replied, "First, Bill Knudsen. Second, Bill Knudsen. Third, Bill Knudsen." Knudsen gave up a $300,000 salary to serve his adopted nation, bringing the principles of automotive mass production to aircraft manufacturing. The transformation began almost immediately. By December 1941, American factories were producing 2,000 military aircraft per month, a 20-fold increase in a single year. Boeing Motor Company announced plans for a vast bomber plant at Willow, Michigan. Boeing expanded its Seattle facilities. Douglas Aircraft employed tens of thousands. The arsenal of democracy was coming to life. German leaders dismissed these reports as fantasy. General Friedrich von Boedeker, the Wehrmacht's military attaché in Washington from 1933 to 1941, sent detailed dispatches describing America's accelerating mobilization. In December 1940, one dispatch predicted that U.S. war production would soon reach, quote, "incredible heights." Berlin dismissed his warnings as wishful illusions. When Boedeker met Hitler in February 1939 to discuss America's potential, the Führer ranted instead about so-called American racial degeneration, refusing to hear his intelligence chief's analysis. He denounced Americans as, quote, "mongrelized and incapable of sustained warfare." That ideological blindness would prove fatal. The Luftwaffe intelligence mocked reports of women entering aircraft factories as evidence of American desperation. They could not conceive that democratic mobilization might outproduce totalitarian command. When news arrived of factories running 3 shifts around the clock, Nazi analysts assumed exaggeration. Their worldview simply could not reconcile itself with American reality. At the heart of that reality stood Ford's Willow Run plant. Built on farmland beginning in April 1941, it became the largest factory under one roof. 3.5 million square feet with a mile-long assembly line. Charles Sorensen, Ford's production chief, promised a B-24 Liberator bomber every hour, when other factories took a day. Early results were disastrous. The first bomber, completed in September 1942, required total rebuilding. Quality control failures reached 50%. By February 1943, Willow Run produced only 56 bombers a month, far below projections. Critics derided it as "Will it run?" But Ford's engineers persevered. They broke the bomber into nearly 500,000 sub-assemblies, created new tools, standardized jigs and fixtures, and introduced continuous moving assembly lines. By September 1943, monthly output reached 148 bombers. By December, 365. And in April 1944, Willow Run hit its stride. 428 B-24s in a single month. One bomber every 63 minutes, 24 hours a day. That single factory outproduced the entire German aircraft industry. German pilots began to realize the truth during the Tunisia campaign. Major Johannes Steinhoff, commander of Jagdgeschwader 77, observed in December 1942, quote, "American pilots are no longer amateurs. The most alarming thing is there are more of them every day." On January 27, 1943, 64 U.S. bombers struck Wilhelmshaven, the first raid on Germany itself. By October, during the Schweinfurt-Regensburg campaign, the U.S. could lose 60 B-17s and replace them within 2 weeks. The arithmetic became unbearable. During Big Week, February 20th to 25th, 1944, the 8th and 15th Air Forces launched 3,500 bombers against German production centers. The Luftwaffe lost between 262 and 355 fighters, and, more critically, about 100 veteran pilots. General Adolf Galland reported to Göring that Germany was losing 1,200 fighters a month, while producing only 1,000. America, by contrast, was producing 2,500 fighters monthly and losing only 400. By 1944, the numbers were staggering. U.S. factories built 96,272 aircraft that year, 16,000 heavy bombers, 35,000 fighters, 22,000 transports, outproducing the entire German wartime total of 94,677 planes. Each American bomber carried 13.5 caliber machine guns, thousands of rounds, spare turrets, advanced bomb sights, and precision navigation gear. German fighters often lacked even working radios. Boeing's Plant 2 in Seattle turned out 16 B-17s each month in mid-1944. Douglas Aircraft, which had only 68 employees in 1936, now employed 167,000 across 9 plants. The P-51 Mustang rolled off the lines at 500 per month. Lockheed produced one P-38 Lightning every 90 minutes, incorporating over 2,000 combat-driven modifications. Supporting industries matched the pace. General Motors built 57,658 aircraft engines. Packard produced 55,523 Rolls-Royce Merlins. Alcoa's aluminum output rose 600%. Dow Chemical's magnesium production soared from 6 million to 333 million pounds a year. America's workforce transformation shattered Nazi assumptions. Women, less than 1% of the aircraft workforce in 1941, made up 65% by 1943, over 310,000 women. At Douglas Long Beach, 22,308 of 41,602 workers were female. Rosie Will Monroe, the original Rosie the Riveter, drove 3,000 rivets per shift at Willow Run with 99.5% accuracy. Female inspectors cut defect rates from 3.2% to 0.3%. Ford redesigned tools for smaller hands and accidentally improved efficiency. German intelligence dismissed this as desperation. In truth, precision improved. Female and minority workers mastered the meticulous crafts, wiring, tooling, inspection that underpinned the miracle of mass production. When Göring authorized the Jagerstab program in February 1944, dispersing aircraft production into 729 underground facilities worked by slave labor, the results were catastrophic. At Mittelwerk, 60,000 forced laborers toiled in hellish conditions. 20,000 died. Sabotage was rampant. Transport delays crippled output. Mittelwerk delivered fewer engines per month than a single Ford plant in Chicago. Meanwhile, American innovation advanced relentlessly. Boeing developed the modular B-29 Superfortress, built in 4 separate plants with fully interchangeable parts. Each cost $605,000 and embodied technologies Germany never approached. By early 1945, the United States was producing 100 B-29s every month. By December 1944, the imbalance was absolute. The United States could field 11,590 operational aircraft against only 319 German. This was not tactical advantage, it was industrial annihilation. The United States dropped 145,000 tons of bombs in a single month, more than all German air attacks on Britain during the entire war. Even Nazi leaders began to admit reality. Propaganda Minister Joseph Goebbels wrote in his diary December 1944, quote, "Göring's boasts of Luftwaffe supremacy now seem criminally absurd. We are fighting the greatest industrial power on earth with mere rhetoric." Field Marshal Rommel warned before D-Day, quote, "The Americans can lose 10 tanks for every one we destroy and still overwhelm us. When they come with such material superiority that no position can hold." End quote. In captivity, Göring finally confessed the truth. To U.S. interrogator Major Kenneth Hetchler in June 1945, he admitted, quote, "I knew American industrial potential was great, but its execution exceeded my worst fears. That single factory at Willow Run produced more aircraft than our entire bomber fleet at its peak." End quote. It was incomprehensible. Shown charts at Nuremberg, he sat in stunned silence as prosecutors revealed that by 1944, America produced more planes in a month than Germany did in a year. He called Willow Run the black factory that broke our backs. End quote. Between 1940 and 1945, the United States built 299,959 military aircraft, 97,000 bombers, 99,000 fighters, 98,000 transports. Germany built 94,677 planes. 2 million Americans worked in aircraft production, men and women, black and white, immigrant and native-born, proving that free cooperation could surpass forced labor in every measure of productivity. The infrastructure built for war became the foundation of post-war prosperity. Aluminum smelters supplied the suburbs. Chemical plants that once made aviation fuel now produced consumer plastics. Machine tools that built bombers fueled America's global industrial dominance. And Göring wrote in his final letter on October 15, 1946, "The true lesson was simple. We were defeated by industrial power, not arms." End quote. His final words to prison psychologist G.M. Gilbert echoed through history. Quote, "We declared war on an industrial giant while it slept. When it awakened, we were destroyed. They did not merely outfight us, they reinvented production itself." End quote. Göring died by his own hand that night, but his final admission remains history's verdict on the war of production. The Reichsmarschall who mocked American capacity perished knowing that a single U.S. factory had outbuilt the entire Luftwaffe.